Hi, my name's Adam Sant. I'm the Experience Design Director at Deutsch LA. I oversee all kind of user experience for our client, Volkswagen. And just quick background on Deutsch. Deutsch, we're a 500-person kind of integrated advertising agency based out of LA. And about over 200 of those purely work on digital projects. So I'm going to talk about one of them today that I worked on for it was an 18-month project, and we're still working on it now. So VW.com. So VW.com is centered around, we were looking at redesigning the OEM automotive experience for Volkswagen, and centered to this was a tool called Find a Match. So what is it? Find a Match is so VW.com is a shopping tool that matches you to real inventory nearby. So you may ask why inventory, but before we did that, we had to say, why does an OEM automotive manufacturer need a website? And we needed to establish this in the automotive ecosystem of shopping. There are multitudes of tools and websites out there for consumers. So people are now used to using things like TrueCar that you can get real pricing of what cars are sold for nearby to you, and getting all those kind of details on that. And then also there's another company like Tread, which focuses on improving the experience to test drive cars. They'll bring an actual car to your home. So there's lots of disruptive experiences going on in the automotive space. And another big one is Uber. It's removing that need to actually own a car. So there's lots of areas that we have to look at to influence us. So when you're looking at car shopping, there's two key elements that we looked at, and that was the loving the car and then finding the car. So when you love so the parts about loving the car, lots of OEM manufacturers do good jobs of this. They have very nice looking websites, but you start to notice they all look very similar. They all have the same structure. It's very historical. It's very hard to move this structure that's generally built on the structure of actually the divisions of those companies. But we wanted to center it around the consumer. And then there's things like configurators, which are great to show you the combinations that you can get, but when it comes to shopping, they don't actually show you the cars that you can get. Very often when you configure a car, it becomes a unicorn that you can't actually find. So that comes into finding the car. So this experience is hasn't again changed that much. When you look at existing ways, so this is a VW dealer site, you have these single pictures that give you a rough idea. They're not always correct, to the vehicle that you're looking at. Then there's also very limited details on the vehicle that you're looking at there. This goes across, cars.com. So there's all these, various ways to look at inventory, but they don't help you fall in love with that car. They're just giving that information to go to that dealer and then go and experience that car. So what we wanted to do with VW.com was help you love the car and find the car at the same time. So how we did that was we came up with this creative vision called the Match.com for car shopping. So this was our overarching creative vision that led everything we did around this site. So everything was focused around this. And here's a little intro.
It's going to bring water in to the boat to help you with ballast. I know it sounds crazy to bring water in because it would be sinking. You understand the principles of that. What I always say is, pump today, live tomorrow. I do say that sometimes.
Finding your perfect match is pretty tough. You're going to go on a lot of dates, have your fair share of disappointments, and probably come across some real gems along the way.
So the bilge pump is, I think, the most important part of any boat.
Luckily, dating sites came along and made finding the one easier.
You have a really small mouth.
Well, most of the time. No one can make finding your perfect mate any less brutal.
Are you ticklish?
But Volkswagen has rethought the entire car shopping process and built the new VW.com with inspiration from dating sites. Now, you can choose exactly what you're into. Colors, features, how much you want to spend. Then, the site will find matches in your area and set you up with the new or used Volkswagen that's right for you. Each car even has its own profile page. But unlike on a dating site, they're actually truthful. So for once, you can find the one, equipped with everything you want. Introducing the new VW.com. It's like a dating site, except it's for cars. And it's better.
So that was just a little video that was put together to kind of introduce the site. But there were three key innovations that we felt, kind of were key to this experience. The first was these unique car profile pages. So VW has around 80,000 cars in inventory. And for each of these cars, we created this vehicle profile page that every image on this page is rendered exactly for that vehicle. So we also rendered different backgrounds so that each car felt, kind of unique and kind of gave it this profile page experience. But as you go through this, kind of experience, there's across the website, there's over 10 million, kind of unique images for each specific configuration. So on this page here, there's about 75 images. And so we kind of looked at ways that, with the gallery, that you would have all these interior shots seeing that exact car that you're looking at. And again, there was an interior and exterior 360. As you kind of scroll down this page, you're able to get the story of that car and everything that, kind of is contained within that car. So rather than, kind of a bullet list of the key features for that car, we, kind of made that very visual, so it was much easier to scan for, kind of users. So as they went through, they could, easily see it's like, okay, this is the, the exact wheels, how that sunroof will look with the interior that I've selected. And then the other way was like how to get to those inventory. So what we wanted to do was be able to search by attribute and shop across models. So one key aspect here was the fact that you didn't have to, kind of enter a model to start off with. You can find cars that are just red and with, kind of a sunroof and below $30,000. There's, kind of was a way that we could eliminate the need to kind of figure out which vehicle and go for all those vehicles and use this kind of way of searching by preference, which is something that we saw through research of the actual shopping, process in dealerships. And as you look at, this is an example of the inventory of, kind of red cars with navigation. So here you have, cross sections of vehicles that would be available to you. And then another aspect was kind of radically simplifying the site. So we had a focus on shopping. So all the key tools around shopping are there right on that kind of homepage, very simple navigation, and but easy way to kind of access more on there. So being able to kind of access those special offers, financial services, and all the other things that are kind of very important. So what did we learn? A lot, but kind of one key thing that throughout this project was having that mission and idea to keep the project focused, especially when kind of trying to completely redesign a vehicle website, doing the front end and back end all the way back to kind of vehicle data. So this is taking data from the factory in Germany, and that comes all the way to the vehicles that you see, kind of on the site and in the dealerships. So we needed that, and then being prepared to test everything. Like we didn't have huge budgets for testing, so we did, kind of some very formal testing where we had, in 3 cities across the US, which we had, massive learnings from, and kind of pivoted a couple of times in that. So we were working in 6-week sprints, so that we would design in UX in 6 weeks, and then those next 6 weeks we would actually develop what we'd design, and that would happen. We had 12 sprints overall. So we ended up, kind of testing, and then the other part was being in this war room. Another part on testing was to test quicker. We would actually do, we created this thing called beer testing internally, where we'd walk around with a beer cart at work and offer people beer to kind of just spend, like 20 minutes looking at our site and kind of get some very quick feedback. And then numbers, safety in numbers. So not everyone's kind of a fan of, kind of when you try and do a very disruptive site. Using, kind of looking at the data once we launched, it's, kind of super important. So kind of going into that, results, we actually had, kind of obviously we had some really great press around the site. And then, but, kind of more important to me was actually kind of how well it actually delivered. So we actually kind of decreased our bounce rate by 34%, had a lift in search rankings. And then we also, kind of for key shopping tools like interaction with offers and inventory, those kind of inventory increased by 231%. And through that, we've also seen a lift in actual leads, kind of based on our previous website, which looked very similar to all the other automotive websites that we looked at. So that's it. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, sorry.
Are you able on this to not just pick what you want, but pick what you don't want?
At the moment, no. It's more it's pick what you want. So there's no kind of, sorry, you can't pick that. So that's one area that, kind of, those were things that we looked at, but we tried to kind of keep it very, very simple and focused. And like there were things like, why not select more than one color? But we wanted to kind of create this very playful experience as you're kind of playing with it and seeing that inventory number kind of change from, kind of 100 down to 10.
And one more question.
Yeah.
Did your dealers find that customers came happier, or what was the response for the dealers?
So the response for the dealers has been really good. I mean, there's certain aspects that there's a lot of politics that you go through dealers. Like we have to very prominently show your local dealer, and every vehicle profile you can actually contact your local dealer to get that car. So there's lots of kind of historical dealer rules that we have to kind of create logic around. So, but as far as consumers, it's still kind of the data in automotive kind of takes about 6 months to kind of get that feedback from someone going through the process and buying a car. So we're now starting to see the kind of like data coming in of number of people that kind of went to the site and then actually purchased a car. So following that all the way through to purchase. Yes, over there.
When you started the project, did VW come to you asking for a disruptive site, or did you propose this and they're like, whoa, okay? I mean, it's pretty risky for a car company.
It is pretty risky for a car company. So where it started was, so we were already working with VW. So we were we're VW's TV advertising agency, and we were building it. It's like I've been there 2.5 years, and that's when we kind of started building out our digital capabilities. And at the time, the digital kind of the head of marketing for digital basically said, "I want a 12-page website." So that was kind of his brief. He wanted, kind of a very simplified version of, kind of the automotive website. So he did want to kind of, the client came to us with a idea of disrupting that category and re-looking at it, because he didn't want just a website that looks like, because if you go to them, they all look very, very similar. Yeah.
I know from my German colleagues that buying experience in Germany is very different than buying experience in the US. Are you targeting just the US market with this, or?
So yeah, this was totally focused on the US, although we were heavily, I presented to 20 Germans, like 3 hours of wires every 6 weeks, which was kind of fun. But there was, so Germany was very heavily involved, but the market is very different here. Where in Germany, you build your car, and so it's like very custom built, and then it basically gets delivered. Whereas in the US, it's all about you go to the dealer and you get what's basically available. You can't actually, kind of for many vehicles, except for those, high-end BMWs and things like that, you actually can't necessarily order them, custom made. So with a VW, you can't actually order one custom. So it's much more about finding a vehicle that, made sense to you within, that's available. So I'm gonna, yeah. And then.
So the majority of the creatives that you're showing here are all on tablet. I'm
assuming it's a responsive design? And if so, where were you focused on screen size? And does it change radically based on if they're on the desktop or if they're on the phone?
So it's not responsive to phone. That's not because we didn't want to do it. It's just unfortunately that that's the way that it was set up. Was that VW had just recently redesigned their mobile website. So we were just focused on tablet first, so focusing on touch because we've seen that as a massive, kind of looking at our numbers of people visiting the site. Automotive shopping, there's more and more people using tablets. It's like, I think around 20% right now, but it's increasing year on year. And then, then we then have like 1024 and 1268. So we have two other breakpoints. So we have portrait, tablet, landscape tablet, and medium desktop, big desktop.
Back to the dealers, how did you work with the sticky part of the price per? Because I see you can set your budget and things like that.
Yeah.
How did you get them to participate with pricing?
Do you mean the VW or
The VW dealers.
Yeah.
Like if you go to one dealer and you're negotiating a price.
So we only dealt with actual kind of like MSRP prices. So kind of what it's shown on the shop floor. Although we did present, kind of using like TrueCar, but that's kind of, I think dealers are not, even though dealers are now linking in with TrueCar, that's still very kind of progressive, especially for a, kind of automotive manufacturer to kind of promote that. Yeah.
So one of the key features of a lot of these staking websites is that they ask the user questions and
Yeah.
get to know them. Was there an aspect of that you thought about, or?
We thought about that, yeah, definitely. We thought about kind of, that people would want to ask some questions, but it's much harder to kind of come up with answers based on, interpreting those questions to, whereas we wanted more of like inputting what you actually want rather than, kind of, if you go for a wizard and then it's like, here you go, here's the car that matches you, and we didn't want to be this like super intelligent kind of experience, because we felt that could actually annoy certain, it's like, no, that I don't want a convertible, but that's what you're suggesting, so. Yeah.
Big part of that dating site metaphor is dating sites. A big part of your experience is filling out your own profile.
Yeah.
What about the dealers when you get a new car, and I guess there's some experience or interface that helps them provide you good content that makes your experience richer?
At the moment, this experience is just on, kind of, we're looking at ways of connecting it to within dealerships and, bringing that more to them. Obviously, these are all the vehicles that they have on their lot, and kind of it's a great way for them now to show the vehicles that are on their lot using that, because when we did some research, they actually, kind of do bring up the website to kind of show vehicles that they're looking at, and previously it was like you didn't get the full understanding and details of those vehicles before going out and seeing them.
Are you going to be able to harvest the searches that people are doing locally so that dealers know what people are actually wanting?
We are capturing, kind of quite a bit of data around that. It's obviously a lot of, data crunching around that. I mean, at the moment, what we're looking at is actually what are the kind of paths through the website that are kind of shopping-like habits that lead to more people completing transactions. So we're, kind of looking at people who submit leads and then comparing that to other people who use the website. So we're doing a lot of kind of like, I guess, big data kind of crunching to kind of see what ways we can improve that shopping. But I mean, I'm sure eventually we'll start. At the moment, we're focused on optimizing the site and improving it. But I think, in the end, you'd start to see actually what consumers want. And then that could even be divided by, actual kind of states, cities, like, that make sense for those, because there's very different shopping habits in, kind of New York versus LA, etc. Cool. Thank you.